big glow in the night sky is Atlanta Motor Speedway. 9th of 11 races in 1998 for the Pep Boys Indy Racing League. The first ever Atlanta 500 Classic presented by Pep Boys. This may well be the fastest and the smoothest track that these Indy cars have come to. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our TNN telecast. I'm Mike Joy, alongside the first over 200-mile-an-hour pole sitter in an Indy car here at Atlanta, Tom Sneva. The speeds here are just awesome.
Well, they really are. The drivers feel, though, it's very easy to drive by themselves. But you put 28 of them out there together, burning methanol, and they're like missiles, cause a lot of turbulence. The guy that can work traffic without having to roll out of the throttle is the guy that's going to finish up front.
Tom, a lot of the drivers we talked to say they expect 3-wide racing and that the draft will play a big part tonight.
Well, the draft's going to be a big factor. They're going to gain 3, 4, maybe even 5 miles an hour. It makes it so they have to run 2, maybe 3 top gears in the gearbox. So the guys that guess the closest on that part is going to have an advantage.
This is going to be a wild night and a fast one. All eyes will be on Kenny Brack. He's trying to become the first ever Pep Boys IRL driver to win 3 races in a row. Here, his number 14 is winning at Charlotte. For owner A.J. Foyt, he went on to win at Colorado Springs. He's also trying to notch the MCI Pep Boys $1 million bonus that a fan would also win if Brack goes on to win all 3 of the TNN televised races.
It feels great, you know. It's a very nice price, obviously, you know, to be able to offer to the drivers in the league and to the fans. It doesn't change my goals or my way of driving or anything like that, but it's a very, very nice thing to be able to get if you can win them 3 races. But you gotta remember, it's hard to win those 3 races.
Let's go to the front row and meet a driver who is qualified on the front row for every race he's started this year with Ralph Shaheen.
Billy Boat is starting on the pole for the 2nd race in a row. Now, that's not a surprise. He's had 4 of them in 1998. But he did bounce back from a broken femur in just 8.5 weeks, and that's impressive. We know the femur is good enough to get on the pole, but are you strong enough, and is the car strong enough to win the race tonight?
Well, that's AJ Foyt Delar is definitely strong enough to win this race. You know, I feel great physically. I've been working real hard, got a lot of strength back in my legs, so I don't anticipate any problems. We'll be looking for the victory lane.
Mike Joy, just like any racer, not only is Billy Boat fast in the car, but off the car. Look at this. This is a carbon fiber cane he's been using over those 8.5 weeks. Only weighs 1 ounce.
Boy, that thing could double as a cigar holder in many parts of this country.
That's high-tech stuff in IndyCar racing. Scott Sharp is the point leader by 2 over Kenny Brack. Now, when we left Colorado Springs, Tony Stewart was the point leader. But he and teammate Robbie Buell and car owner John Menard were each fined 15 points and $25,000 for rear wing violations on both of those cars. So Sharp now falls from the point lead. Or rather, Sharp has the point lead. Stewart has fallen off to 3rd place here. And as problems continue, who would have believed that Tony Stewart would be starting in the next to last row tonight? Vince Welch.
From one problem to another, the motors have been the trouble for Tony Stewart and Team Menard this weekend. Stewart qualifying at just over 2:13, good for only 25th quickest on the grid. And Tony, you did run 2:20 in the final practice this afternoon. Is there any hope in moving up the field, or are you saddled with one tonight?
Well, I mean, we're just going to have to ride what we got tonight. I mean, I wish I could say that we had some tricks up our sleeve and we could, you know, run up to the front, but you know, we're going to have to rely on some guys having some problems tonight, and we're going to have to just stay out of trouble and hope that we can finish this thing, and if we can stay on the lead lap, hopefully salvage the finish on this thing tonight.
And you're also in the hunt for the points championship, so this is no time to have problems.
No, I mean, we're kind of letting things slip away if we have a bad night tonight, so, you know, we are going to have 2 more races after Atlanta here, and, you know, we really can't afford to be having these problems right now, but, I mean, these guys behind me have all been working really hard, and, you know, they have not given up on me and not given up on the effort, and I'm not going to give up on them tonight. I mean, I'm going to ride at 110%, and, you know, we'll just give it all we got tonight.
This is the last full season in the Indy Racing League for Tony Stewart. He wants this championship, but it's going to be a tough way to go in the final 3 races.
IndyCar racing attracts stars from many sports. Ravens quarterback Jim Harbaugh is here tonight. Greg LeMond, the Tour de France cycle winner, competed in the Formula 2000 event earlier this evening. And Evander Holyfield, heavyweight champion, here to help promote his September 19th fight in the Georgia Dome, decided he'd climb into Eddie Cheever's IndyCar. Well, deciding to and actually doing it are two different things.
How would you like to be a mechanic on that team and he was upset with the way the car was working?
Would you rather have him driving for you or A.J. Foyt?
It'd be a toss-up.
Right. Evander's here to have a lot of fun and to wave the green flag for tonight's event. Let's go trackside with Ralph Shaheen.
Well, to fire up these so powerful Pep Boy Indy Racing League machines, here is the chairman and CEO of Speedway Motorsports Incorporated, Mr. Bruton Smith.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
The engines come to life, and we're getting set for the start of the Atlanta 500 Classic with you live on TNN. We'll be right back. First pace lap is complete here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Let's have a look at the starting lineup. Billy Boat has his 5th career pole, and it's the 6th straight race. He started on the front row, and Jeff Ward, 4th consecutive front row start for him. Scott Sharp is the point leader. He won at Phoenix and Dover. And Scott Goodyear is 4th, his best effort of the year. Row 3, Mark Dismore, 4th straight start in the top 5, and Kenny Breck trying to win 3 in a row. Then Marco Greco, 3rd at Dover, and Stefan Gregoire, 4th in Colorado. Ari Lyondike, the 2-time Indy winner, and Davey Hamilton, who has 6 straight top 10s. Eddie Cheever, the Indy winner, and Buzz Calkins with 2 top 10s this year. He's back with a new car. Robbie Unser, 5th at Indy in his debut, and Andy Michner, the former USAC midget star. Raul Boisel, 8th at Phoenix, and Greg Ray, 2nd at Texas in June. John Paul Jr. finished 3rd here, the only driver to compete in 1983, the last IndyCar race at Atlanta. Buddy Lazier, the 96 Indy winner. Steve Knapp, Rookie of the Year at Indy, and Stan Waddles, who was in the top 10 at Texas. Robbie Buell, the runner-up at Colorado 2 weeks ago after taking a couple of races off, and Sam Schmidt, who has 2 top 10s this season. Then it's former USAC Sprint Car champ Brian Tyler and USAC Silver Crown grad Donnie Beechler. Way back in 25th, the defending IRL champ Tony Stewart, worst start in the league history for him. J.J. Yaley, 9th at Indy. Dr. Jack Miller, who got a top 10 in Charlotte, and Roberto Guerrero makes his 2nd start with the Price Cobb team. Buzz Calkins is in.
We also had Steve Knapp in then when you were going through the grid, Mike. I'm not sure what the problem is on that Parker Hannafin car, but we'll see if they get it to speed.
John Andretti took the NASCAR pole here in March at 192 miles an hour. Tonight, Billy Boat faster than he won the pole at Indy, 224.145 miles per hour. Incredible.
Well, the track is just, they've done an excellent job with this racetrack. It's just pool table smooth. The drivers all love it, and you know, it's going to be fun to watch this thing.
Dr. Jack Miller, the Crest Racing number 40, will have one of our onboard cameras. There's Scott Goodyear, the Pennzoil Panther Racing machine, starting 4th. Scott Sharp, the Delphi Automotive Systems onboard camera. And Jeff Ward from the outside of the front row as they take the green flag at Atlanta.
Boy, they're spread out pretty good. There's quite a bit of distance between the rows, but that usually makes a safer start.
Well, they were spread out all the way back to turn 3. Tony Stewart has passed a car and begins his assault on the field from the back.
You see, Scott Goodyear just got by Billy Boat, so Billy hasn't had that many good starts and restarts in the last few races, but once they get to the speed, it's a whole new deal.
Riding with Scott Sharp, that's Billy Boat, the green car just ahead, the Conseco car of A.J. Foyt.
Well, again, Boat starts in the front row, but didn't get off very well and got passed by a couple guys.
That's Mark Dismore on the move. Diving in is Kenny Breck.
Breck isn't wasting any time going to the front.
No, Sharp is not so sharp in the early laps here.
Well, again, those are guys that are running for a championship, so they have to be a little more conservative than some of these people.
Kenny Breck right up the tailpipe of Mark Dismore. Looks to the inside. Dismore comes right down.
Well, that's close, too. That's real tight. You can see Breck had to back out. He lost some air on the front wings and had to roll out of the throttle. And it's giving Sharp a shot at him.
Shows how important momentum is here. When you're running flat out, if you lift, Sharp's right back to him.
Well, just small lifts. If you get that nose tucked tight in behind a guy, you're going to lose the air in the front wings, and the car won't want to turn. You're going to have to roll out of the throttle.
Further back, Tony Stewart's passed 3 cars.
Going to be pretty close.
From 25th starting spot. 4 cars. He's now 21st. Breck to the outside of Dismore this time. Way up high going into that corner.
Wheel to wheel. That's tight.
Leader Jeff Ward, last lap, 223 miles an hour.
Again, Kenny's all over Dismore. He's a little bit quicker, but you got to find a way around. Greg Ray in the black car on the outside.
Stefan Gregoire in blue through the double dogleg or quad oval here at Atlanta.
Greg Ray substituted for Billy Boat when he was down and out for a couple races.
And trouble on Jack Miller's car, which is now coasting down pit road. Also, Buzz Calkins, don't know if Buzz took the green flag. No, he was on pit road. Did not take the green flag. A new Dallara for Calkins. And they've been improving on speed all weekend. You'll see there's Calkins, number 12, working in the...
Well, it looks like the Novocaine wore off Jack Miller a little bit too quick tonight.
Jeff Ward, your leader. Marco Greco battling Greg Ray. Greg Ray is on the move. He's up to 8th place. Started back in 16th. That black car is Greg Ray.
Well, and that he's just going by Marco Greco, who was actually the fastest car in our last practice session. So Greg Ray is heading towards the front of this pack.
He likes these kind of tracks. Had a great run at Texas. Nearly won down there. Nearly beat Billy Boat.
Yeah, just struggle. It's a smaller team. They just struggle with the financing. But for that small a team, for them to be this competitive every race they're on the racetrack, it's just it really says a lot about that group.
Davey Hamilton on the outside. Takes a spot away from Greco.
Clear.
And Stefan Gregoire in the blue car, just all over Greco. So I'm really surprised Marco's having some kind of problem early.
That's 8th, 9th, and 10th place. Greg Ray moving up on Scott Sharp.
This is outside the back of Sharp's car. And driving around the outside when these guys are using that much throttle.
Motor, you might be able to stay there. Size them up. Clear.
You can hear the spotters trying to let him know when he's clear of the traffic.
Well, they're so important at a place like this where the track is so wide. Some drivers thought we'd have 3 wide racing tonight.
Well, the spotters are important, but they've got to be so quick because things happen so fast when you're going 220 on a mile-and-a-half racetrack. Things happen in a hurry.
For 7th place, Davey Hamilton outside of Scott Sharp. Makes the pass.
You can see this inside Sharp again. You can see him trying different high gears. So he might be on the rev limiter or having some kind of a power problem, but he's trying different high gears. A lot of the cars are running like 3 different high gears. There'll only be about 100, 150 RPM difference in 3 out of the 6 gears at the top end of the gearbox.
Let's get an update on Dr. Jack Miller and Buzz Calkins. Here's Vince Welch.
Well, Jack Miller's got a bit of an electrical short. His dashboard just went blank, so they had to pull it in and try to find an answer there. As far as Buzz Calkins is concerned, it's got a brake problem, and Steve Knapp, a rag blew off of Buddy Lazier's car and blew into the car of Knapp, so they had to come in very quickly and clean that rag out.
So still working on Calkins' car there in the front end. See Get Well Mom down at the bottom of the screen. Jack Miller's mom, Eileen, recovering from heart surgery, home in Indianapolis. It's the first race she's missed since Jack started running in the IRL, and we wish her a speedy recovery.
Well, good racing here. Again, Kenny Breck down low, and Greg Ray over the top on the outside.
That's pretty tight-pitched racing there. Boy, Ray coming after Dismore. Greg Ray in the black car in red, white, and black. That's Dismore.
Right in front of Dismore, you see the green car of Billy Boat, the pole sitter. So Greg Ray is moving through the pack with reckless abandon.
And Boat has solidified now in 3rd place after dropping from the pole position on the start. Ralph Shaheen, what's up with Billy Boat?
Well, Mike, remember in qualifying, Billy Boat had a problem with the alternator. They got that fixed, qualified the car, and then after qualifying, they changed engines. So this is not the engine in the car that put Billy Boat on the pole.
Billy Boat has not led an IRL race since he won at Texas.
Well, he's sat in the pole every time since he's been back, but you know, he hasn't been able to keep it up front when the green flag goes down. But Greg Ray, look at this guy. I mean, he's able to run up high and just drive around the outside of these guys. I mean, this is pretty amazing when they're all running pretty much flat out through the corners.
Remember the run he had at Texas? I mean, he had no fear. I think once he put the left wheels in the grass to make a pass. He is quite a talent. If he can keep the car under him for the distance, Greg Ray is going to be right there at the finish. They've had to skip a few races for lack of funding. They've had a number of one-race sponsors, but Greg Ray has shown he's the real deal. Moving outside, Billy Boat. This looks like, Tom, the best place to pass off turn 2. Without that dog leg, with that long straight back straightaway, it looks like where a lot of drivers are trying to get a run.
Well, and you can see Billy's not working bad because he's able to hold the car right down on the bottom of the racetrack. But Greg Ray, I mean, there's some horsepower in this thing right now.
Inside, clear.
It's Greg Ray's spotter. And Greg Ray goes on to take the 3rd position behind Jeff Ward and Scott Goodyear.
Your usual stellar job. Keep it up.
I know he's not talking to us.
Tires for this.
Well, it's amazing. We know what the speed of light is, Mike, but I don't know what the speed of dark is. Do you?
We'll be right back. Jeff Ward leads the Atlanta 500 Classic. 3rd time this year he's led the opening lap. Jack Miller back in the race. Buzz Calkins back in the race. 21 laps down. Look at Ward, who announced a new sponsor this weekend.
Yeah, Thermotech, sort of an interesting company, taking waste products and turning them into something that's useful. And I don't know what, I'm not sure what the company's saying is. It's shoot to Shinola or something. I'm not sure what that is.
That's good. It's Robbie Unser down on the track apron coming pit side.
Yeah, the Children's Beverage Group car, Eddie Cheever's team, makes some kind of problem there.
And Tony Stewart, who started this race in 25th position, has climbed to 12th. Fastest car in the racetrack is Scott Goodyear, the Pennzoil car, in 2nd place behind Jeff Ward. You're riding with the race leader, former motocross champ, Jeff Ward, coming up on lap traffic.
Again, you can hear him roll out of the throttle a little bit, so but there's traffic right in front of him, and you know, when you're leading the race, you can be a little more cautious. Take your time. You can hear him roll out of the throttle there.
I think that's Donnie Beechler just ahead, and Scott Goodyear. Scott Goodyear closed right up on the leader. Now the race pace has dropped to 215 miles an hour as the leaders try to find a way by traffic. Or Goodyear by for the lead.
Well, Goodyear's been a little quicker the last few laps, and looks like he got the job done.
Ward looked like he had just a little bit of a wiggle with the car coming out of turn 4 there.
Well, the hand position on the wheel indicated he might be getting a little bit loose as he's getting later in the fuel load, and when that happens, there's parts of your body tell you to roll out of that throttle.
So Scott Goodyear becomes the 2nd leader of the night at 29 laps. Going up on Brian Tyler, and Greg Ray is in trouble.
I'll say new when we want new. Get those on.
Sounds like it's a tire
Go
problem.
to position 1 on your fuel.
Down to the 80-mile-an-hour pit road speed, and right here, folks, 80 miles an hour. Looks like he's stopped.
Well, and this is too early for scheduled pit stops. They should be able to go 41, 42 laps, but...
J.J. Yaley is also in.
It looked fairly routine, though. It looked like they were just going after tires and fuel.
Ralph Shaheen?
Well, Mike, they're taking on 4 tires and a full fuel load. And we'll check with the crew to see if there was a problem with one of the tires as soon as they bring them over the wall.
15-second pit stop. Stan Waddles just coming off pit road as well. So Scott Goodyear picking them up, putting them down. Puts Raul Boisel down a lap there.
Yeah, the Trans World car, Raul, they were very optimistic about being able to run just a little more competitive. Here comes Ray back onto the back straightaway, trying to blend into traffic.
Trying to get back to speed.
Stan Waddles, again, the Riley Scott chassis, you know, small teams, not as big a budget, and to develop a car, it's real tough.
Sixth place battle here, Scott Sharp, Marco Greco. And Scotty's not been having a fast day so far.
Well, and actually Marco wasn't very quick early, but now he's starting to go forward.
Congratulations to the Sharps. Second child born last week as Stefan Gregoire goes by to Scott and Kimberly. Jackson is his name. He's their second. And also Bill Mullen, crew chief for Andy Mitchell. Bill and Laura had their second child, a girl, Tess, on Thursday. Takes care of the sport stories for tonight.
We're all stirred up.
Davey Hamilton looks to the inside.
That's getting by Roberto Guerrero. He did a nice job. He was very quick in the last practice session with the Infinity motor, and these guys had smiles on their faces, but the car is obviously off a little bit right now.
So Jeff Ward on the pit lane. It is.
These guys are not getting the mileage that they were hoping for. I can see that. 28 laps for Greg Ray, and now we got the leader in, again, short of 40.
Well, now, he was the second place car when he stopped. Scott Goodyear had passed him on the racetrack, so. Jeff Ward accelerates back out. So Scott Goodyear, last lap, 218 miles an hour. He's completed 36 laps. Mark Dismore is second. Kenny Breck, trying to win 3 in a row, is third. Davey Hamilton's fourth. Marco Greco is fifth. Then Stefan Gregoire and Scott Sharp. Welcome back to Atlanta, where some early pit stops have shaken up the leaderboard. Scott Goodyear is the race leader. Here's Stefan Gregoire in the light blue. Blue Star batteries, number 77. Shown in fifth place. He's working on Raul Boisel. Boisel a lap down. Scott Goodyear the leader. Mark Dismore, Kenny Breck, Davey Hamilton, the top 5. And on pit road is Tony Stewart.
Make it a half a turn.
He had climbed to 10th place from 25th.
In a half a turn, in. Or in a half a turn.
You can see they're talking about probably a front wing adjustment. A half a turn is not a big adjustment to the car. He must be happy with the way the car is handling.
And Billy Boat, the pole sitter, is in. So Boat, who had been running in third for most of the night.
Good stop by Stewart. They weren't in there long at all.
41 laps complete. And A.J. Foyt's crew goes to work on Billy Boat's car. Now 41 laps, Tom, this would be more like scheduled pit stop time.
Yeah, they talked between 40 and 42 is what a lot of the guys, oh, a problem here with Boat. He killed the motor.
And again.
Now, I don't know if this is related to Billy's injury problems or not, but...
or the electrical problem perhaps they've been having. Now he's away and sends a tire that had been laid out for one of the other cars for Kenny Breck.
That's high-speed shuffleboard they're playing down there.
Robbie Buell is in one of the Menard cars, and here is Kenny Breck, Billy Boat's teammate. Here's Buell's stop being completed.
Buell's actually moved up the pack nicely also, as well as Stewart. So
Kenny Breck, Buddy Lazier is in.
You can see on the front wings, they put quite a bit of front wing in the front of Breck's car.
13.5 second stop for Kenny Breck. Stefan Gregoire going back on the track after his stop. And the Hemmelgarn Delta Faucet machine.
Trouble with the right rear there. It was a slow stop on the right rear. Had a problem, some kind of problem there.
14.2 seconds for Lazier. Mark Dismore is in the pit lane. These are all scheduled pit stops, the first ones of the night. And Eddie Cheever, the Indy 500 champion.
The Rachel's car is coming in for more potato chips.
Hold the salt. Vince Welch is there.
Mark Dismore in the pits. He's had a little bit of a push, although the car has run well as he'd moved up to second place. Now they've got a problem. They have to put the car back up on the jack, and now they've got it down and away. But Dismore, a costly pit stop, and he finally gets away. But Mark Dismore, not the cleanest stop in the world. As we mentioned, they had a push, but it hadn't affected the car, the handling too badly as they'd moved up to second, but not the kind of pit stop that they wanted to have.
Andy Michener is in, and so is Scott Sharp, the Pep Boys IRL point leader.
That was Dismore had problems in the left rear, so we've had rear tire changers having a little bit of stress right now.
Kenny Breck back up to speed. And let's get an update from Ralph.
Well, Mike, the story with Kenny Brack is he had a bit of a push going on in that last run, so they dialed up some front wing for him. That should help take that push out.
Steve Knapp makes a pit stop. And I think that's Donnie Beechler who just went through.
Well, there's the leader in. There's Goodyear coming in.
So he will surrender the lead to Marco Greco. Scott Goodyear in the Pennzoil Panther Racing entry.
They've gotten good fuel mileage all year with the G-Force chassis, so
47 laps on a tank full. I believe that's first in class. No, Greco's not been in.
you saw they gave a half a turn of front wing on both left and right front wings, so not a big change.
Davey Hamilton makes his stop. And here's the race leader, Marco Greco, in the pit lane. 48 laps completed of 208.
Davey going back on, so they had a nice stop.
And this will complete the cycle through the first round of pit stops with Ari Lyondike coming down pit road. There's Marco Greco getting service. And here's Ari Lyondike. Now he's coming in just ahead of Greco, and that was almost a collision, Ralph.
Well, Mike, it is pretty wild down here on this first round of stops. The car for Ari Lyondike is a little bit loose through the turns. Now they're planning on adding some front wing to the car to help get it better through the corners for him.
There's the adjustment on the front wing. They just keep turning.
Well, I'm not sure if the one was going one way and the other guy was going the other, but I don't think they'd probably be adding front wing if it was loose.
Jumping out is Robbie Unser. His car caught fire in the pit lane. There was fire from the engine compartment cover as they tried to service the car, and now you see Jack Miller's crew along with Unser's crew hosing it down.
Well, Robbie, we saw him slow early, so they've got that problem corrected and some kind of malfunction.
Well, we saw flames, and of course that's not indicative of a methanol fire. Must have been the fiberglass that the burning methanol set on fire. Vince?
That was a fuel line problem for Robbie Unser. Interestingly enough, before the race, I was talking to him, and he poured some water down the front of his uniform, and he said it's going to be hot out there, but I don't think he had any idea it was going to be quite this hot. He definitely had the hot seat, and Robbie Unser was trying to get out of the car, and very quickly safety personnel came to his aid, but certainly not a good way for Robbie Unser. Let's see if I can get a quick word with Robbie. Robbie, exactly what happened? Did you have any indication out there on the track?
We lost fuel pressure early on when I was behind Ari. That's why we're running so slow. We couldn't seem to get it up, so we brought the car and tried to fix it. Got on fire. That wasn't no fun.
That seat got hot.
Yeah, it got hot. So most of it was fuel pressure, though. Otherwise, we had a pretty good car. Thanks.
Robbie Unser done for the night.
Well, Children's Beverage Group makes a non-spill drink pouch, but obviously they don't have it on the race cars.
I don't think it's fireproof, Tom.
Oh, okay, all right.
So he's out of the race. Scott Goodyear has gone back to the lead at 52 laps. There he is working traffic. Kenny Breck. He is the second place car, then Davey Hamilton and Greg Ray. We'll be right back to Atlanta after this. Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. It's quiet and we're under caution, and you see the reason why. Look at that big dark area of racetrack in the first dogleg between turn 4 and the start finish line. That entire bank of lights up on the roof. You see on the right side of the screen the bank of lights. You don't see the lights up in this area. Apparently a breaker or some sort of a power problem has caused those lights to go dark, and it would have the cars coming into an area that is far less lit than the rest of the speedway, and at 215 miles an hour, very difficult to see. So Pep Boys Indy Racing League officials quickly put out the caution flag.
Actually, this might make a few of these guys quicker if they can't see what they're doing.
Greg Ray comes in the pits now that the field has been collected, and so does Jeff Ward.
Well, Greg, we know, has been very, very fast, but they've got either a fuel pickup problem or something going on there, because they just can't run enough laps in a tank full.
Let's find out from Ralph.
Well, Mike, Tom is exactly right. It is a bit of a fuel pickup problem. The problem is they don't know how much fuel mileage they're getting. The fuel pickup problem, the fuel pump isn't giving them all the gas they've got in the car, and it's not registering to them. So that first stop that they made a little bit earlier than everybody else was a safety measure. They came in, filled the car up, then they could go back and do the math to figure out how much fuel they didn't take into the car, figure out the size of the fuel tank, do the math. They know what kind of fuel mileage they were getting, and they could go from there. The stop now will help balance them back out for the fact that they had to pit early.
Excuse me, Ralph. Yes, Jeff Ward is back out after his pit stop, and the Indy Racing League officials have consulted with the drivers and with their crews, and the drivers are saying that the visibility is probably good enough to continue with this amount of light. I once did a short track race at Agawam, Massachusetts. This is gosh, 20 years ago, when somebody found the breaker for the whole amusement park and Speedway, and in the middle of the modified feature turned off all the lights and all the electricity, and miraculously everybody came to a stop without anybody running over anybody. And it was about 10 minutes later, the lights came back on, and they started the race again. But boy, scary thing. Let's show you a couple of things that happened during the last round of pit stops. There were some good pit stops, and then there were some incidents like this.
Well, Billy had a little trouble getting the thing fired, but when he did get it, well, it looks like it stumbles here after he clipped the tire.
And here's Ari Leindijk trying to come in right in front of Marco Greco. How close is that shave?
Well, you see, his crew guy was actually trying to get him to go, and Marco was pretty heads up, realizing that he really couldn't go at that time.
And from Jack Miller's car, here's a look at Robbie Unser's inadvertent barbecue.
Well, no marshmallows, but that'd do him in a hurry.
You
can see the flames over Bobby here, and there was a lot of fire there, a lot more than it looked like.
What I liked there was quick work by not only Robbie's crew, but one of Eddie Cheever's crew and one of Jack Miller's crew were both there very, very quickly with fire extinguishers.
Well, when it comes to safety, these guys all want to help each other out as much as they can.
Marco Greco led 2 laps tonight, the first race he's led since New Hampshire in '97, when he led 34 laps from the pole. And Billy Boat's problems in the pits have dropped him off the lead lap. Here's Tony Stewart, now the 9th place car after starting 25th.
Easy does it. Easy does it.
And J.J. Yaley with new colors and a new sponsor, Nextel. And Ralph is in Stewart's pit as J.J. fails to come out of the pits cleanly.
Well, Mike, one of the problems when you start so far back, one way you can help yourself is maybe getting better fuel strategy. So that's what they did. They brought Tony Stewart down pit road, filled him up, topped him off. They're going to try to play the fuel game here tonight.
Well, Tony's not only the IRL champion, but a NASCAR driver as well. And making that late stop for a splash on the last lap of caution is a familiar strategy in that form of racing.
Well, and when you're in the mid of the pack or in the back of the pack, you don't lose that much track position, and you can maybe gain a few laps on the fuel situation.
Except right here, you restart about a third of a lap down. We're back under green. And it is Scott Goodyear who has taken off from Kenny Brack and Davey Hamilton.
Well, again, a little bit of a ragged restart. The pace car let him go, and Goodyear was able to get a little bit of a jump on the boys.
Tony Stewart is more than a third of a lap, and J.J. Yaley fell off the pace down to the apron. Now he's getting going again.
We got good racing here. We got the Blue Star battery car. Looks like he's got his batteries charged up, and Eddie Cheever right on the outside, trying to get around on the outside.
5th, make that 6th place battle, and right behind them, Scott Sharp. The 2 blue cars of Cheever and Gregoire. That's Gregoire on the immediate left.
Well, Eddie finally got by down to the bottom, but here comes Sharp.
Oh, this is a brand new race car. Scott Sharp, look at how he's knifing through traffic.
Well, they've made the adjustments he needed, and it's definitely made it come to life.
He's up to 6th place, chasing his teammate Mark Dismore. Ooh, slides up the racetrack and almost got into Guerrero.
That surprised both of them. For whatever reason, Sharp's car jumped about a lane to the right, and Guerrero was right there.
Now, Tony Stewart's pit stop dropped him to 11th. And unless I'm mistaken, Stewart is trying to keep a personal record intact of having led every IRL race he's competed in. Up in smoke, J.J. Yaley. Caution is out.
Pretty good fire out the back, but it looks like it's...
Great, Mike. Follow him in. Follow him in.
So Yaley will come to the pit road, and caution is out as he may have put some fluid down on the speedway. We're under caution at Atlanta. Scott Goodyear leads Kenny Breck, Davey Hamilton, Marco Greco, and Mark Dismore. We'll be right back. Jay Yaley. There's some Motor Madness fans, to be sure. And Vince Welch has caught up with him.
JJ, it's been a tough weekend and culminates with the blown motor.
Yeah, it has. You know, we just kind of struggled a little bit this whole week here. The engines have been down a little bit on horsepower, and, you know, we were just going to try to ride along here in this race, and, you know, unfortunately come up a little bit short, but the one-call car was looking for a good finish.
The bank of lights that went out along the front straight, was that causing a problem as far as vision on the track?
No, not really. You know, right now the racetrack's lit so brightly that that little spot down coming off of turn 4 didn't affect too much, so I think they'll get along pretty easy and have good vision.
J.J. Yaley done for the night. Let's go up pit road to Ralph Shaheen.
Keith Jones is a truck driver and left front tire changer for Panther Racing. Well, Keith was getting ready to come on down to Atlanta and bring the truck down, but he went out to start it up. It wouldn't fire up. Problem was, it had a CB radio antenna that melted. It had a soccer ball-sized hole underneath the truck put into the concrete, and all the electronics were blown out. Why? It was struck by lightning. And with his driver Scott Goodyear out front leading here in Atlanta, he's hoping lightning doesn't strike twice.
Scott Goodyear is your leader at 66 laps. We're under caution. Kenny Breck, Davey Hamilton, Marco Greco, and Mark Dismore are the top 5. You're watching the Pep Boys Indy Racing League live on TNN. Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. 68 laps complete. Under caution, Scott Goodyear the leader, Kenny Breck second. One thing I love about big league auto racing on TV, you can do something you can't do in any other sport. Tom?
And fuel.
Yeah, Davey Hamilton, Tom Sneeva in the booth.
Tommy, go ahead.
I think if we could see through that helmet, you'd have to have a smile on your face. Started 10th, running 3rd. How's it been out there?
The car's really good right now. This is a fun race, and I'll tell you what, you're just wide open the whole way around and try to get a friend out there and catch a little toe, and so far we've had a few, and we've got a great pit stop right there. I like pitting under green. My guys are the best in the pit, so hopefully get a few more of those and go to the front.
All right, good job, Davey. Good luck the rest of the way.
I love this sport. Can you imagine talking to Mark McGuire in between pitches, or Sammy Sosa? You know, I don't know. It's pretty cool.
It is. It's great stuff, and he sounds pretty relaxed.
Yeah,
I think so. Too uptight. He's sort of just happy to be there.
All right, Tony Stewart started 25th. He's running 9th. Let's go to his pit and Ralph.
Mike, I'm with Larry Curry, who is the team manager for Tony Stewart. Larry, you guys are doing something you don't normally do, racing up through the field. How's that going tonight?
Well, the car's working pretty good. Our biggest concern is, I mean, the leader is getting incredible fuel mileage. He outran us on the first stop by about 8 laps, and so that's going to be hard to handle if he can continue to do that all night long.
Well, you made a splash and go. Is that to help combat that? Are you in good shape now?
Exactly. We're trying to offset that a little bit on this next round, hopefully.
All right, Mike, there's the story from Tony Stewart's pit.
And let me clarify, Tony Stewart has led every IRL race this year, and 18 of the 21 events that have been held since the series began. Going into tonight's race, he has not led tonight, started 25th, and is running in 9th place.
Well, the key here, we talked about it earlier, is fuel mileage. You know, some of these guys aren't getting what they had hoped for, and a lot of times it can be a big factor in the outcome.
So there's a look at Stewart, who is running in 9th position. Going to go run in NASCAR for Joe Gibbs next year and compete in only one Pep Boys Indy Racing League event, that being the Indy 500. Eddie Cheever, the defending Indy 500 champion. He thinks a lot of the IRL coming deep into stock car country, and told us yesterday what he thinks the IRL has to offer to Atlanta.
Atlanta's a great city. I mean, they just had the Olympics here. People understand sports. All their sports teams are very successful. Every time they have a NASCAR race down here, it's sold out. And there isn't an American in the world that doesn't know there's the 50th anniversary of NASCAR. So we're going right into an important market like Atlanta, and I think we'll be very successful. People are attracted to racing because of speed and excitement. I mean, when you talk about the IRL, you talk about speed and excitement. That's what we have. I mean, we are fast, and so they'll like it. So it's a good market for us to be in.
Nice crowd on hand here tonight, and they're liking it. The speeds have been blinding. We're getting set for the restart. Boy, Scott Goodyear really pulls the trigger and jumps out ahead of the pack. Pace car hits pit road, and look at the lead that Goodyear has built up.
Well, sometimes, again, Billy Boat on the restart, the start of the race, it just doesn't come to speed very quick. So we might get one of the guys in the pits to check with AJ and ask him what kind of problem Billy has on these restarts.
Well, it wasn't just Billy. It was Kenny Breck, the second place car. Unless it was just Scott Goodyear taking off a lot sooner than Breck figured.
Well, again, both Voigt cars, so I don't know if the gear spread coming up through the gears is a little bit off or what.
Remember, Scott Goodyear jumped the restart in Indy in 1995 and paid dearly for it. Well, he's well out in front at 72 laps. Kenny Breck, there's Breck's car. In second, Davey Hamilton, we spoke to him a moment ago, is in third. Marco Greco, Mark Dismore. Then it's Scott Sharp, Eddie Cheever, Buddy Lazier, Tony Stewart, and Jeff Ward. Also on the lead lap, Stephane Gregoire and Greg Ray.
Well, there's Billy coming back to speed again. Yep. After a couple laps, he gets it going and starts closing the gaps.
Could it be as simple a thing, Tom, as restarting in a higher gear, or just a different choice of gears in the box?
Well, again, sometimes they're running 3 high gears, so they don't have so many to select as they come up through the gear ratio. So, you know, that could be part of the problem.
Ooh, time on the outside, Eddie Cheever, and at first I wasn't sure Dismore knew he was there. I'm sure he did, but he didn't leave him a whole lot of room. You're watching from Scott Sharp. There's Tony Stewart going by.
99 to control.
Boy, Stewart's on a mission.
Do I have permission to go over the white line to brim that spoil dry?
There's people in the pits trying to clean up stuff in the pit lane.
Almost a touch there. Stewart almost got into Cheever.
Stewart wiggled pretty severely and almost got Cheever.
Stewart is flying. Last lap for Tony, 223 miles an hour.
Still there.
That's 2 miles an hour faster than the leader, and about 4 miles an hour faster than the cars he's racing with, from the top side to the low side.
Well, again, that's in heavy traffic, so sometimes you can get a tow, and that'll help the speed, but he's having to weave through some of this traffic.
Still there. Clear eye, clear eye. Good job, Tony. Keep digging, baby.
Tony's guys, they've got the balance pretty close now. You can see him in the middle of the corner, able to use a lot of throttle and just drive by these guys.
Sam Schmidt makes a pit stop and comes back on the speedway. So Stewart is up to 4th place.
P4, Tony, P4.
Like we said, P4, position 4.
That yellow car is that Ward or Knapp? Can't tell.
Suddenly, folks, there's a spate of yellow cars in the IRL, and a couple of them are real difficult to tell apart from a distance.
I think actually it was Steve Knapp and Parker Hannafin car doing a great job out there.
Now that was Knapp, who is in 19th position.
There's Eddie Cheever pulling down to the bottom side in the blue car, blue and black.
Now he comes right up on Mark Dismore. That's the 6th and 7th place car. There is second, Kenny Breck. Ralph's in his pit.
Mike, John King is the crew chief for Kenny Breck. John, it seems like Kenny's not getting as good a start on the restart to Scott Goodyear. Has he got a problem with the gearing, or is Goodyear just that good?
No, I think Goodyear just jumped the start there a little bit ahead of him. We'll get him before the night's over.
All right, well, hopefully they won't have to deal with any more cautions, Mike.
Well, thanks, Ralph.
Well, they actually need, you know, these restarts. The leader does have a big advantage if he's able to let the pace car get away from him. And they do that in IndyCar racing. I'm not sure why, but if they left the pace car out there and didn't let the leader spread himself from the pace car, they could keep those restarts a lot tighter.
I'm sorry, I was laughing at King's reaction. You know, he says, well, we didn't do anything wrong. Actually, it was this guy, Scott Goodyear, who is the leader in 81 laps. His last lap, 221 miles an hour. Kenny Breck in second, Davey Hamilton third. Tony Stewart is up for 4th. Back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. Mike Joy with Tom Sneva. Watching Scott Goodyear run around here at 219, 220 miles an hour and lead most of this race. Jeff Ward led from the start, the first 27 laps.
This is inside Goodyear's car here. Let's listen for the engine pitch. He rolls out just an ounce. Not much, though.
And let's have Scott Goodyear take us for a tour around Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Right now with Atlanta, you just drive into turn 1, you're flat, and you just sort of guide the car through the turn and let the car do the work and sort of rotate itself and free itself out coming out of the turn. And then, you know, it will take a while to get down the straightaway at the speeds that we're going. We're already into turns 3 and 4. And 3 and 4 is, it's much the same as 1 and 2. You're flat and a little bit different line, just trying to keep the car as freed up as possible. And you get into the tri-oval, which is a nice section coming out of 4 because it really allows a lot of racing room side by side because you got the track opening up the D-leg there.
Scott Goodyear just put another lap on Robbie Buell, whose car is not up to speed if you call 202 miles an hour. Not up to speed.
Well, even when he was that much slower than Goodyear, Goodyear still gave him lots of room. You heard him roll out of the throttle as he was talking about getting around a lap here.
Now, Mark Dismore is in the pit lane. Would this be a scheduled stop for Dismore?
I don't think so, Mike. I think we heard on the radio that it might be a tire problem.
Well, he was in at lap 44 and now comes in at lap 87. And I don't think he was in under that last caution.
That would fit, but again, he had some concerns about the tires, so a lot of times you'll come in early to be on the safe side if you're in that pit window.
5 laps to
Tony Stewart has caught Greg Ray. This is the battle for 4th place right here. Stewart looking low. Now Ray is giving him a lot of room, Tom, on the bottom of the racetrack there.
Well, you heard Greg Ray's guys talking to him. They're talking about pitting in the next 5 laps. So, you know, how serious they're going to race for those 4 laps before you enter the pits.
And Tony Stewart was just in. Gray wiggled the back of the car off the corner.
Inside.
Now Ray had just passed Stewart. Here's Stewart coming right back after him.
Inside. Still there.
Again, the spotter trying to help him around the racetrack.
Working lap traffic, Robbie Buell.
We're way up top there, Greg. It's kind of dusting it pretty hard like Milwaukee 94.
This is pretty unusual. The crew's talking to him right in the middle of the corner, and he's in heavy traffic. Now, a lot of the drivers don't like that situation. You need to concentrate pretty heavily when you're in the middle of the corner and when you're in traffic. So those two together.
Stewart's got to worry about Cheever now.
I'm not sure that a lot of these guys would like to be talked to quite that often.
Greg Ray had just gotten past Tony Stewart and now solidifies his hold on 4th place.
Well, Eddie Cheever right there.
Yeah. Stewart up from 25th to 5th. Greg Ray 16th up to 4th. Buddy Lazier started 18th, now running 9th. Nobody's ever won an IRL race from that far back.
Again, this is the battle right here. And you saw Greg Ray wiggle. When Tony gets right up on the back end of him, he takes a little bit of the air off the rear wing of the lead car, the black car, and it'll cause the car to get a little loose if the balance is real close to neutral.
Ralph, what's the strategy on Greg Ray?
Well, Mike, one of the things I wanted to tell you about is Greg Ray is one of the few drivers in this series to have utilized both tire manufacturers. Early on in the season, he ran Firestones. The 2 races he subbed for Billy Bolton were on Goodyears, and he's back to Firestones. So he is able to utilize all of that information on his own car here tonight.
All right, we've got Mark Dismore has now dropped down to 15th position. Vince, what's the trouble there with Mark?
Well, Dismore had a bad right tire, so as you were speculating, they did not make a scheduled stop. It was unscheduled. They needed to come in. They went ahead, obviously, and changed all 4 tires, but the bad right rear for Dismore.
Greg Ray. Again, the car looked loose, and he spun it. He hadn't hit anything yet, but...
Yellow! That's us. We spun. Are we in, Greg? Are we off the wall? Talk to me, spotter. Can't see. The podium's in the way. He slid off the wall. He didn't hit the wall on the outside, but he might have on the inside. I can't see.
Yep, he sure did. Greg Ray is going to climb out after a really impressive drive tonight here in Atlanta. You could see as he spun, he really kept the wheels spinning, trying to gain any kind of purchase and momentum to keep that car from spinning into the back wall.
Well, the amazing part is he just got through spinning about 2 360s, and Greg Ray, of all the voices we heard over that radio communication, he was more calm than the spotter was. And that's pretty good willpower from a driver's standpoint.
I think that first voice was the crew chief yelling caution, caution, caution.
Yeah, but
Greg knew. Said, he knew who it was.
Greg told him you never want to be the reason to have the caution come out, even when you're looking for it. Now, that's not a blue uniform.
Now, safety crews and folks out there near the corner with Greg Ray. We'll have a look at what happened to Greg Ray when we come back. We're under caution at 95 laps. It's the third one tonight. The caution is out for Greg Ray's wreck. That's Ray on the wrecker, and another car has just pounded the wall exiting the pit. John Paul Jr. in the Visionaire, Brian Heating and Cooling number 10, coming out of turn 2. I guess it just come out of the pits, and he just slammed the wall hard. So he was trying to get back up to speed and get in line.
Yeah, we're not sure what happened there. Again, it's just coming out of the pits, and they're under yellow, so it's hard to say. We need to check in the pits and see if he communicated.
There's Tony Stewart, who is the second place car. And they may have touched, is the indication we're getting.
Well, 4 or 5 of them came out of the pits all together when we were at break, and so it was pretty good racing coming out of the pits.
He was just outside Tony Stewart coming out of the pits.
Well, actually, Davey Hamilton came in third and left.
Now, Marco Greco, I believe, did not stop. Let's see what happened here to Greg Ray, the black car.
Tony Stewart right behind him, and he's coming up on Billy Boat. And the car just jumped sideways.
Oh, look, it's just getting by his Cheever.
Wow.
And Stewart.
I mean, this is real close. The black car, again, watch, it just gets loose. He's right between 2 cars. It didn't look like he was that close. That the air from both those cars should have affected him, but that car just jumped sideways. Here it is again, the black car. And look at Eddie Cheever up high. Just misses Eddie. Those two got together at Dover and weren't happy with each other.
No,
so
they were battling for an up front position. Cheever just lucky to get by. And I wonder what his thoughts were as he saw Ray going around.
This is leaving the pits under the yellow. Wow. Now that car just took off to the right. I don't know if he tried to gas it a little bit or what, but you know, they're going pretty slow. I'm not sure what caused that car to just dive right.
Something went very wrong, but it looked as if just at the point where the track transitions from the flat to the banking is where John Paul's car just rocketed up into the wall.
Well, and
it looks like it took off.
Well, I don't know if that's a transition with cold tires, and he was trying to accelerate to get to blend into that back straightaway. But under the yellow, it's a little unusual.
9th DNF in 12 races for Greg Ray in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League. So we're still under caution here at Atlanta, but we'll be right back. Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway for TNN's coverage of the Pep Boys Indy Racing League. Tonight's Atlanta 500 Classic presented by Pep Boys, and there is John Paul Jr.'s car going off. The only driver in this race who also competed in the last IndyCar race to be held here back in 1983.
Well, yeah, he actually finished third that day,
Yes.
and it appears as though third's out of the question tonight.
Greg Ray out of the race as well. Now, Kenny Brack trying to win his third in a row. Nobody's ever done that. Ari Leyendyke won 2 in a row. Brack pitted moments before Greg Ray spun, and Kenny Brack lost a lap pitting. So now during this caution flag, the power team car has stayed out on the racetrack. So technically he is the last car on the lead lap right now, positioned just behind the safety car.
Well, what makes this pretty interesting is Breck won the last race that these guys had by having better fuel mileage and not having to stop late in the race. Now he gets caught with the yellow situation. He couldn't stretch the fuel. He had to pit, and I'm not sure if that was fuel or they were trying to make an adjustment on the car. And maybe Ralph or Vince, who's down there, that can talk with AJ and find out why they pitted.
Well, don't forget the MCI, Pep Boys $1 million bonus. which was posted for any driver who could win the 3 televised races, and a fan will split it. And there's how you can enter that sweepstakes. Kenny Brack, of course, is the only driver eligible because of his win at Charlotte. If he wins tonight and wins Las Vegas, there's $1 million at stake for Kenny and some lucky fan. So Tony Stewart has been adjudged to be the leader. Greg Ray is out of the race. Vince is with him.
Greg, what happened in the accident?
It was unfortunate. This is our first race back since the Dallas race, and we had a really good car. We had a fuel pickup problem. We had to come in early, and we can only pick up about half our tank, so we were trying to come in on every yellow to get fuel, and we had a good car. I think we had the best car in traffic out there, and unfortunately we were running the high line, and I guess I picked up a piece of debris, and we cut the right rear tire, exploded at turn 2, and I held on to it for a little while, and it finally it looped itself at the exit, and went to the brakes and kept it straight all the way down the back straight, and I thought I could actually you know, maybe keep it off the wall so I could get towed back for some new tires, but unfortunately we just barely clipped the wall. So unfortunately not the results we want for our best access and our sponsors.
Will we see you in Texas?
Absolutely. We had some problems coming into this race, and we're going to overcome all those in Dallas. We're going to try to do that two-step boogie.
Hey, Greg Ray from the state of Texas, looking to go back home. Let's go to Ralph Shaheen.
Vince, there are different ways you can adjust your car. Sometimes you can do it from the crew. When you come down, you will see him make adjustments to the front wing or the rear wing. You can also make some adjustments from inside the cockpit, and that's what Scott Goodyear is doing. His car is so good, they're leaving it all up to Scott. Now, there's 3 things that he can do. This right here is for the anti-roll bar. There'll be one in the front and one in the back. He can adjust this here, and he can also adjust the weight jacker up here, which is usually just for the left front tire. He can adjust these and make that car do what he needs it to do as the fuel load goes down.
Scott Goodyear posted right now in 3rd, Ralph, as they take the halfway sign here at Atlanta.
The rules only allow you to have that weight jacker on one corner of the car. Some guys put it on the right front, some on the left front, so they move it around a little bit. The problem is you can change the weight, but you also change the ride heights, and these cars are very sensitive to both those things, so you can really affect the handling of the car.
You're riding along with Goodyear in 3rd. Marco Greco, who led earlier tonight, has just made another pit stop as we get pretty close to going back to green here in Atlanta. As we mentioned, Kenny Brack is on the tail end of the lead lap. He had pitted just prior to the caution coming out. Ralph?
Okay, well, Mike, I'm down here with A.J. Foyt. He's on the radio. A.J., you guys had to bring Kenny Brack down just before the yellow came out. Is there a handling problem?
No, we were just scheduled for a stop, but we're getting ready to go green. I'll talk to you in a minute.
Okay. A.J., he's focused. He's ready to go.
A.J. sat on the pole for the first IndyCar race ever held here. And he told me yesterday that he led most of the day, and then something broke. And he's sliding down the track, and he says, here comes Jim Hurtubise and that big old Novi. And that thing was so big, it looked like a Greyhound bus bearing down on me, and that was the end of that.
Well, now it's AJ that looks like a Novi.
Oh, jeez. Johnny Rutherford went on to win that race. Under the lights at Atlanta. We're just past halfway. Tony Stewart has come from 25th starting spot to the lead. Here's Vince.
Well, the banking here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway provides for some exciting racing in the corners, but it turned out to be the thing that did in John Paul. John, explain the situation.
Well, we were running 220-mile-an-hour laps that whole segment before that with Kenny Brack trying to get a lap back. We only had 3 gears. The 2nd, 4th, and 6th gear weren't there, so I was coming out of the pits on that one yellow trying to determine my position beside Stewart, and went up on the banking in 1st gear, which is the only gear I really had. And the transition was such, it just spun the thing right around. It just caught me off guard. Cold tires, it was just my own fault.
Disappointed John Paul, but the best news of all, he's fine. He'll be back in Texas.
Tough break tonight for a very talented driver. We are back under green.
Good racing there. You saw Scott Sharp there in the yellow and red car, about 3 wide in the middle of the corner.
Now, Scott has been fast on each of these last 2 restarts. 100 laps to go. And Sharp moves up to 5th place.
Buddy Lazier in the blue car right behind Davey Hamilton trying to make a move, and
here comes Sharp.
And you can see right there Lazier in the blue car. You see that thing wiggle as they came off the corner?
And Sharp moves past Lazier. That is for position. That's 4th place.
Well, again, we've lost There's Lazier again, but Lazier had Billy Boat right in his tail end as Sharp was going around the outside, and Buddy just had to roll out of the throttle because it loosened him up so bad.
Now Billy Boat is posted as in 11th, 1 lap back of the lead. Up front, Tony Stewart. Hard to believe where he qualified, but not an unfamiliar position for Stewart. In the lead and about to lose it.
Look at Goodyear underneath. Just drives right by.
Scott Goodyear 219.2 the last lap. Stewart 217.1.
Well, again, the draft is a big thing. They're out there clear, so actually the guy in second spot has really probably got the advantage.
So Scott Goodyear goes back to the lead where he has been most of this evening.
We can see Davey Hamilton, the middle of those 5 cars right there. Again, right in 3rd spot, having a great day with his Reeboks.
And Kenny Brack has dropped back in that pack, so he is now 1 lap down. As a result of the pit stop made just prior to Greg Ray's spin and collision with the inside wall. Scott Goodyear's now led 70 of the 112 laps.
Well, he's been up front all day, but it looks like Davey might have a little bit for Stewart right here. He's closed that gap. It is all over the gearbox of that thing.
That's Idaho's Davey Hamilton. Right back to Stewart. Stewart's trying to become the driver who has come the farthest to win in the history of the Indy Racing League.
You can see Sharp now got a little bit of run on Davey underneath right there. This is inside Sharp's car.
Got one looking inside. He's there, Tony. He's there.
There goes Scott Sharp.
Tuck him behind him now.
Well, again, that might be the draft that Sharp was able to catch. Let those guys break wind for him, and he just drove by him.
Sharp has been very fast on new tires. Eddie Cheever won this year's Indy 500 from 17th starting spot. Stewart tonight started 25th. He outqualified 3 cars, 2 of which did not take time.
Well, again, this is outside the back of Sharp's car, looking back at Stewart.
A couple of sparks there up in the corner.
Well, they run the cars real low, and obviously when they have a full tank of fuel, you're going to be able to get them right down on the surface because that's where they stick the best.
Battle for second place. The point leader and the man who left the last race as the point leader and had 15 of those points taken away for an illegal rear wing, as did his teammate Robbie Buell. So,
well, that illegal's in the eyes of the beholder. You know, these guys, they stretch the rules from time to time and trying to get all they can out of these race cars.
So Stewart trying to fight back into the point lead and into victory lane.
Again, Sharp, Stewart, and Davey Hamilton, 2, 3, and 4.
Don't count out Eddie Cheever in 5th. Stefan Gregoire has just passed Buddy Lazier for 6th. Jeff Ward, the outside pole sitter, is 8th. Those cars are on the lead lap. 9th is Marco Greco. 10th is Kenny Breck. 11th, Billy Vogt. 12th, Ari Lyondike.
Again, Davies closed the gap.
He's there. He's there. Still there. Still there. He's got a follower. Left car's following. Clear low. Clear low if you need it.
It's good stuff, boy. Those spotters just do a world of good for these drivers.
He's looking low. Looking low. He's there. He's there.
Did you have spotters when you raced?
Yeah, but most of them are dogs in the pits.
Had Marconi invented the radio by then? I think so.
Actually, when we finished second in Indianapolis in 1980, starting last, we were the first people to use spotters, and it made the whole difference from going from last to second. And we were sort of the first to do that. And actually, we got it from our coaching background. You know, when coaching football, you can't see everything on the football field, and so we decided to try that in the racetrack.
Pretty neat. Scott Goodyear looking for his first Pep Boys Indy Racing League win. He has 3 seconds, and he leads here tonight in Atlanta. Welcome back to TNN Motorsports coverage of the Pep Boys Indy Racing League. Tonight's Atlanta 500 Classic. And We're now showing Kenny Breck still on the tail end of the lead lap, but about a football field ahead of Scott Goodyear. So my mistake, he had not fallen back into that pack. He is still out in front of Scott Goodyear. And Kenny Breck is lapping faster than the race leader last time by. Scott Sharp, second in the race, first in the points. And we asked Scott about the closeness of this points battle.
Has been as much about reliability as it has been speed. And now with the, it's a strong 4-car race and could easily turn into a 6 or 7-car race. It's going to be the guy that gets out of these next 3 races looking the best. So you really almost got to look at it as a 3-race season, and you need to finish. You dump a race, and you're probably not a chance you're going to be in the championship. But at the same time, you can't afford, to let the guy ahead of you or behind you win the race because it's 10 points. So I mean, if you can win, you got to go for it. It's a delicate balance.
Scott Sharp, point leader and new dad for the second time.
Well, he talked about the delicate balance, and these are good theories before the green flag goes down, but once that green flag goes down, sometimes they forget some of these theories and balances.
And he's got to hold off Davey Hamilton. Here comes Hamilton looking on the outside. They work underneath Robbie Buell.
We're hearing Sharp's engine. You could see him hear him just breathe out in the corner just an ounce.
And let's check with Vince.
Scott Sharp not only is a brand new dad, but he has a brand new contract in tow as well. Team owner Tom Kelly announced today that he has signed not only Scott Sharp, but also Mark Dismore to contracts with the team through the year 2000. Kelly saying he's got the 2 drivers he wants. He wants to show stability in his team and also confidence to his sponsors that they believe that the Pep Boys Indy Racing League is the way to go. So owner Tom Kelly with drivers in full through the year 2000 with Scott Sharp and Mark Dismore.
You had to look at Tom Kelly there and Tom Sneva. What a tremendous performance for a brand new race team this year.
Well, they've done just a tremendous job, and they've had the budget, but they've hired the right people. And a lot of times you see a lot of teams out there that have the money, but if they don't put the right people in the right spots and can get them to gel with each other, then it's all for naught.
So Scott Sharp would leave here with a 15-point lead over Tony Stewart. And 20 points over Kenny Breck if positions do not change. One car was slow on the inside. Was that Breck?
No, I think it was Brian
Tyler. Yeah, here's Breck right past the start-finish line. So that was Tyler off the pace. He had just come out of the pits and apparently is headed back there.
Again, Davey Hamilton right on the gearbox of Sharp. He's been able to close the gap a couple times, but hadn't been able to get around.
Hamilton's last lap 2 miles an hour quicker than Sharp, just showing the effectiveness of the draft, helping him close right up.
And again, closing's one thing, but now you get into the turbulence, you get into the bad air, and it affects the way that both these cars handle, but usually it affects the one that's behind more than the guy that's leading this small pack of cars.
Billy Boat told me yesterday you can get up within about 3 car lengths before the draft really starts to mess up the following car.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes it's not as bad entering the corner, but on the exit of the corner, if you're tucked up behind the guy on the exit.
Trouble.
Oh, we got
Gregoire. Now a lap ago, Stefan Gregoire came past start-finish 3 abreast. Racing 2 other cars.
Left side contact. He slid low on the track.
And he has knocked the left front corner
in turn 3
off the Blue Star battery special. You see Stefan moving around in the car. He is okay. He had a fine lead lap run going. I don't know if there was contact with another car or not. He brings out the 4th caution flag of the night here at Atlanta. And one thing that we were a little worried about coming to a track this fast. But every incident tonight, we have seen the driver climb out of the car and walk away.
Well, that's great. It's not a blue dress, it's a blue uniform, but I don't think we're going to need DNA test to figure out what kind of stain that might be on it.
Kenny Breck stays on the lead lap with this caution flag. Here's what happened to Stefan in front of Buddy Lazier.
Lazier right on his tail. Again, both cars are affected handling-wise. Lazier underneath. Oh, he just got out of the throttle.
Did he get up in the marbles?
Well, he got out of the throttle, so I think he felt something was wrong with the car anyway, and he rolled out of the throttle, and he was up high. So I'm not sure which happened first, but he definitely got out of the throttle to let Lazier go, and I think he probably sensed there was a problem.
There's a report on the radio. Well, let's follow up with Vince.
He had Buddy Lazier down underneath him, so Gregoire tried to go up a little high, and when he did, he got up in those marbles and just lost it. He didn't make contact with anyone, but he was a little fearful of Lazier being down underneath. To get a little more room, he went up top. That's where he got into the tough part of the racetrack. And as you know, Tom, when you get up into the marbles, especially at a place like this doing those kind of speeds, you're going to have trouble.
Yeah, no question, Vince. And, you know, and the marbles are, that problem's compounded when you have two manufacturers, because they're both trying to make their tires faster than each other, and sometimes they become a little softer because of that, and the softer the tire, the more marble problem you're going to have.
Last 3 races for Stefan Gregoire: 4th at Colorado, 8th at Charlotte, 5th at Dover. This is only his 3rd DNF in 9 races, and he was the 6th place car at the time of this crash. So a tough break for Stefan Gregoire. We're under caution in Atlanta. We'll be right back with you here on TNN. Welcome back to Atlanta, where Scott Sharp pulled out of the pits and his car stalled. They've had to push it about a dozen pit stalls back up the lane. Well, and he has lost a lap.
That's a tough break. There was a lot of congestion in the pits when he came in. Greco was in there sort of crossways, and you know, he got out of the pit, but then the thing died.
Yeah, Greco was further down the pit lane and came in, and there's Marco Greco minus the front left wing. He angle parked his car in the pit instead of parallel parking it, having trouble getting into his pit stall, and may have knocked that left front wing off it.
You know, that parallel parking can be tough sometimes.
Yeah. Now here's Greco back in there. You see in raw carbon fiber a brand new nose for Marco Greco.
They actually, it took them a while to find that thing. They didn't have one themselves, so they had to go up and down the pit lane to try to find a nose to solve this little problem.
Put the little cam lock screws back in that hold that nose on, and Vince is there.
Scott Sharp, now they've taken the cowling off, and you can see the frustration in Scott's eyes. David Cripps, the team manager. What's wrong, David?
Well, we didn't anticipate this problem happening. We just came into the pits. Everything was fine. It was just a routine stop. We went to leave the pits. We had absolutely no gears. I mean, it's a shame. We just got the Delphi MCI car running well, and we can't find any gears at all right now.
Sharp was running towards the front all night, and this is certainly not a way to get towards the championship.
Not a way
yeah, this is certainly something we didn't need to happen right now. We're just going to have to work around it.
Certainly not a way to keep the point lead. Buddy Lazier has climbed from his car. The Delta Fawcett Hemmelgarn entry. Buddy just lit up the pit lane with a smoke show coming out of the pits. Came around, made 1 lap, has come to a halt. Mechanics continue to work on the car. But it looks like they're working on it to load it up.
Well, this is 2 of the contenders going out simultaneously.
And 2 cars that had a chance. In Sharp's case, a strong chance to win this race tonight.
Well, not only win the race, but the championship now obviously is a big concern for the Kelly team.
So there is Scott Sharp out of the car.
Pretty frustrating. You know, you work real hard to get the thing balanced and run at the front of the pack, and then have a mechanical problem. That's one of the toughest things for the driver to accept.
And Ralph, I guess you had a little jam up down at your end of pit road as well.
You know, Mike, this is a pretty wide pit lane here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, but it's been awfully tricky for everybody getting out of their pit stalls. Here's Scott Goodyear. Watch the crew. It's all done. Kevin Blanche waving him out. Hamilton pulling out, and here comes Marco Greco. And then you still got Kenny Brack. You had 3-4 cars there, all fighting to get in and out of their pit stalls. The lead guys going out had a good time getting out. The one who really had the problem was Greco. He ended up parked at an angle.
Buddy Lazier has climbed from his car. Vince is with him.
It's a long race, still 70 laps left, and Buddy Lazier felt good about his position on the racetrack, but now you're in and out of the car. What's the deal?
I don't know, it sounded like there was a tin can on a spindle hitting, and we lost oil pressure, so we're done for the night. Disappointing, because there's still, like you say, 70, 80 laps left, and I think we're in a really good position to attack. It's an amazingly fast racetrack. We're out there racing wide open lap after lap. It's a lot of fun.
First DNF for Buddy Lazier since Texas in June. Let's show you what happened to Gregoire, the light blue car.
on the outside. He moves, or Lazier's got to run underneath. You can see that, and I don't know if you could see if that was a shadow or something coming off that tire, but I still think there's more than just marbles that had caused this problem.
Looked as if something flew off the right side of the car, and it could have been that right rear. Is it down already?
Oh, yeah, it's blistered.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's down. It's down way early.
So a right rear tire.
I'm getting good at guessing on these things.
Sends Stefan Gregoire into the wall for the latest caution. So Davey Hamilton is the new leader. We'll be right back with you live here on TNN. Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. Mike Joy with Tom Sneva. Greg Ray joins us after having a spin and a tangle with the inside wall in turn number 2, and has kindly come up and joined us up here in the booth. And how about night racing here?
Well, night racing is fantastic. We've always obviously done it all with the Bruton tracks in Dallas and Charlotte and Atlanta. Racing under lights is the best thing we can do.
Does this track race a lot like Texas? I mean, you were blinding fast there, and you were just flying through traffic here.
Well, the tracks are very similar. They're a mile and a half, and they're 24 to 26 degrees of banking, and they are a little bit different, but they are very, very similar. The setups are the same, and certainly the driving style is the same. And where the grip is a little bit different, but you know, we certainly had a great car tonight.
We got some pretty good racing going on here. Billy Boat, and that's Stewart down on the grass inside Billy, but Billy had a big wiggle a second ago as Greg was talking.
Man, it was bullshit.
You heard Stewart. Billy sort of took the air off of Stewart's car, and Stewart had to really roll out of the throttle right there. But good racing here. We got about 8 cars just battling each other.
Now here's Jeff Ward right in there. He's 4th, Stewart's 3rd, Scott Goodyear is 2nd, all yellow cars.
Kenny Brack, the white car on the inside.
Now he's the 2nd place car. Remember, with the caution flag, he got to come all the way around. Stay on the lead lap.
We're on board with Jeff Ward right here. He led early. We hadn't heard much about him through the midsection of the race, but he's right there, right on the right rear of Goodyear.
And Jeff Ward makes the pass to pick up 3rd place. 3 wide going off into that corner.
Eddie Cheever split the yellow cars. Wow.
That's Cheever in teal. And Scott Sharp, the point leader, behind the wall with Vince.
Look at the battling going down.
Scott Sharp, now they're gonna put Scott back in the race car. They've fixed up the car, and he's just run to get his helmet. And we talked to Scott a moment ago about the fact that now you can push the car behind the wall and then get back out and run it. So now Scott has just run to grab his helmet. He's going to get back out there and still stay in the hunt for this points championship. I talked with Scott earlier in the week, and he stressed the reliability was the key at this race and the following 2 events to win the championship. He said as much as speed is a factor, you've got to go the distance. So every lap he turns out here tonight could be a step toward the championship.
Sharp is in 17th place with 135 laps completed.
That's Lindike in the black and white car there. There's some great racing going on right now.
Yeah, Tony certainly had a great car out there tonight, but I'm sure Tony's thinking championship, and he's probably not going to do anything too racy.
It's, you know, these drivers, they always talk that way until the green flag goes down. You know what I mean?
So here's Leyendijk, 1 lap off of the lead inside of Scott Goodyear.
Well, these guys have made adjustments on these cars. I mean, Goodyear dominated this thing for 3/4 of the way through, and now there's 4 or 5 cars that are just driving by.
And Kenny Brack's running 2nd. Look like he's in good position to maybe go for 3 in a row.
Really is, but you got to give a little mention to Davey Hamilton leading this thing. His crew has done a tremendous job. He had great pit stops and has been battling with those guys who come in 2nd or 3rd and came out leading after this last pit stop.
5th race that Davey Hamilton has led this year. And for more on Davey, here's Davey Hamilton, your race leader. Here's Ralph.
Boy, Mike, that Tom Stevens is a pretty smart guy. He's exactly right. Here you see, this is their new chief engineer. That is the guy who is helping them out so much in getting this car running the way it is. But it is really the team that is making the difference down here behind the wall. 9.5 and a 9.3 on their last 2 stops. Every time they've come down and made a pit stop, they picked up spots off the pit road. And that is exactly what you need to put your driver in a position to win. And this crew has done it here tonight. And they are now in a position to go off and get a win, along with the help of new chief engineer, Jamie Gallus.
Well, they would be, except that Now Davey has given up 2 of those spots and gone from first to third. Kenny Breck, the leader. Jeff Ward in second. Hamilton now third, ahead of Eddie Cheever. So here's your lead battle coming up on a lot of traffic.
Well, Jeff Ward, the yellow card. Kenny Breck. I mean, Jeff has caught these guys from way back in heavy traffic.
Now Billy Boat just ahead of them is on the tail end of the lead lap.
And trying to hold these guys back, but inside of Ward, underneath, oh, so close to the left rear. And this is at 220 miles an hour.
Clear.
Yeah, he's clear, all right. I mean, this is some good stuff. There's some battles, I mean, all through the pack right now. For the first 10 spots, you're just battling.
You're back in the lead.
First time that Jeff Ward has led this race since lap 27. 155 complete of 208 laps. At least another pit stop.
We're hearing these guys in the radio, Greg, and I mentioned when you were still on the racetrack, your crew was talking, you were racing with, I think, Breck at the time. You're right in the middle of the corner, and, you know, a lot of times that upsets a driver. He doesn't want to hear from the crew when you're in a tight racing traffic battle and or in the corner.
Well, here at this track, you certainly don't want to be spoke to too much, but we're lapping so quickly. You have to pick some time to speak. So sometimes better than never.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't have time. You can't get the sentence out in the length of these straightaways at these speeds of 220 miles an hour.
Sam Schmidt makes a pit stop. His pit stop sequence, his cycling has been different than most of the rest of the cars today. He's running in 13th position. 50 laps to go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway when the leader comes by, and that is Jeff Ward, the former motorcycle champion. Just that distance, 1 car length ahead of Kenny Breck.
Well, Billy Boat in the green car right in front of him, trying to hold these guys back, hoping for the yellow so he can get to the back of this pack and have a shot. He's just as quick as the leaders right now.
Yeah, and I think what you'll see is even if they do pass Billy Boat, he'll probably fall back in and get in the draft. And, you know, all the cars are quick, but once you get in the draft, it's just so much easier to go fast. And we were definitely a little bit down this evening, but we could run really strong in the draft.
You're listening to Greg Ray, who ran up front for most of this race. On the lead lap, 8 cars. Ward, Breck, Hamilton, Cheever, then Stewart, Goodyear, Boat. Boat, 7 cars in the lead lap. Boat on the tail end.
Well, it was amazing. Ward came right through the first 4 or 5 guys, got to the lead, and looked like he was going to drive off. But now Kenny's closing the gap. Davey's still right there coming back. So, you know, this is fun stuff to watch.
Well, the only car right now that's lapping faster than Jeff Ward is Billy Boat at the head of that train. And that's the hardest he's had to race all night, to try to stay and keep that green car on the tail end of the lead lap.
Again, this is Marco Greco, who's been one of the quicker cars, but had the nose problem, made those adjustments, and now it's causing Billy a little bit of stress.
Yeah, Marco's going to go 2 laps down here to the lead.
Look at Kenny looking underneath. Now it's Davey down on the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, he's going to split him.
Clear.
Oh, good move by Davey Hamilton. Again, traffic's real important. Greg, as you know, playing the traffic is a big part of the driver's job out there.
I'll tell you what, it looks like Brack just barely came off the throttle. That's all Davey needed to just go inside and take that spot.
And here's Eddie Cheever running in 4th, not that far off the lead. There's Cheever's teal-colored car.
He's actually one of the quickest cars on the racetrack. Eddie, he's been up and down all night, but right now he's as quick as anybody.
For more on Cheever, here's Vince.
Eddie Cheever has made very few adjustments. They made a tire pressure adjustment at one point during the race. Otherwise, the car has been great, and he's moved up. Scott Sharp is back out of the car again. Scott, out of the car, in the car. What's going on?
Well, we thought we'd maybe suddenly I came into my pit stop, pulled it out of gear, got the pit stop done, went to put it back into first, no second. It stalled. So then I put it in 3rd, really revved it up a lot, but so we thought we broke a rail in the gearbox. They thought they fixed that, but we must have broken something like an input shaft or something deeper. It's a real shame. The Delphi MCI car has been reliable all year. These guys have done a great job. It's a shame. It's going to hurt us in the points.
Scott Sharp, done for the night.
Well, Vince, tell him if he can coax that thing around for 2 laps, he can gain 2 spots. Buddy Lazier and Robbie Unser have each completed 1 more lap, or 2 more laps in Unser's case, than Scott Sharp. Tough night for the point leader, and a tough night for Sam Schmidt. He had just made a pit stop and there was a big cloud of smoke from Schmidt's car. So Billy Boat gets the free pass all the way around the racetrack and stays on the lead lap with this caution. The Pep Boys Indy Racing League will have its finale in Las Vegas, but there's a lot of gambling going on here right now. There are 42 laps to run. That is very close to the outside edge of the fuel window, Tom, and a number of teams have just made what they hope will be their last stop tonight. We're going to have a look at some of these stops. Jeff Ward on top, Davey Hamilton and Kenny Brack, top to bottom.
Top 3 guys. Ward's in first, stopped first. Breck's the 3rd one to get stopped. Again, Hamilton the first out. He wasn't the first to stop, but he was the first out. So the stationary time for the Reebok team, I mean, they got good tread in those Reeboks in that crew tonight.
I don't know if you noticed, it looked like Tony Stewart got pushed in the grass coming in the pits. It looks like it held him up some.
Well, it did, because he was one of the last guys of the leaders to come back out, and you know, he lost a couple spots.
There's a look at who's hot. Some of the drivers that have advanced a lot of positions tonight. Let's get an update on the 4th place car. Eddie Cheever. Here's Vince.
Eddie Cheever came in for a pit stop. They, of course, put on the new tires, added the fuel and the front wing adjustment as well. Team manager Dick Caron says no problem. They can definitely go the distance on the fuel that they have. Cheever had a near miss with Mark Dismore as he exited the pits. Dismore had to put his right side tires on the grass to avoid the collision between the two, but both somehow got out cleanly. Cheever believes they can win this race.
Going green.
Well, we got a little better restart here. I mean, we got all 3 guys right there at the front. This is the best restart we've had since the start of the race.
The one we didn't have is Cheever. He's well back in that pack.
Look at Ward up high in the yellow car.
Kenny down low. Both those guys are very aggressive on restarts.
Davey Hamilton trying to hold off Brack to the inside.
Oh, he's got to get her back up before they get to the middle of that corner. Davey's got his hands full. They're going on both sides of him.
Well, that's what he did.
Here comes Dismore.
And here comes Mark Dismore up the outside.
Well, again, those two, the guys in front of him are battling for position, and it blows a big hole in the air, and just gives that guy in the back a good run.
Now Dismore, the 2nd car in line, is trying to get back on the lead lap. So Hamilton, trouble. Turn 2 back straight away.
4 or 5 cars.
There's turn 2. Going into the wall is Greco. Into the inside wall hard.
All the way down the backstretch.
Billy Boat is involved. And that is Greco's car on fire. A wheel goes rolling without a race car. 1 car went upside down. That's Robbie Unser. And that is Marco Greco's car in flames, and he is out of the car walking away.
Oh, that's a good sign. He's out.
Robbie Unser climbing out. Billy Boat climbing out.
There's Billy.
Now, he's the driver that just a couple of races ago broke the left femur, the thigh bone, but you can see Boat is okay. Look at the right side of that car. It is not.
No, but that limp, you see him limp a little bit, but that's from a previous crash, so it doesn't look like it's damaged the injury any more severe.
It appeared there was a car that looked like it actually turned upside down in 2, but...
Well, you know, these guys have been running so close all night, and they were bunched up on a restart, and one guy gets in trouble, and it really compounds the situation when they're running this close all night long.
There's certainly no room for error in the single car.
Bottom of the screen, Robbie Unser and Billy Boat discussing what happened. Robbie's doing the talking, and Billy doesn't want to hear it.
It doesn't look like Billy wants to talk about it quite as much. Shaking his head. I don't know. But there he goes. He gave him a little signal to Robbie, like, no problem.
The best news is Billy's, in fact, I think he's walking a little better than he does with the cane.
Well,
that he is okay. That's the big thing.
You have a little adrenaline flow when you get involved in these situations. So
now there's Robbie talking to Marco Greco. And Marco is making the motion as if Robbie chopped down on him.
It feels like might be a little disagreement on how that thing started. Ooh, Billy. There's Billy Boat. He doesn't like how he was involved in that situation.
He's giving Marco an earful, and
well, look at Robbie Unser. I mean, he wasn't sure that Billy Boat was exactly correct on his view of that accident. So It isn't over yet.
Well, I've got everybody at the Speedway in this discussion except Evander. Now,
well, there's A.J. Foyt in the scoring stand. He's trying to figure out what might have happened out there.
And again, varying views on what happened among the 3 drivers involved. Robbie Unser, Billy Boat, Marco Greco, all 3 are okay.
That's Robbie Unser in the yellow.
And it's possible that Steve Knapp was involved. That car has not come around the Speedway.
Robbie's a lot like his dad, Bobby. He likes to talk quite a bit. And there's some situations where the less you say, the better off you are.
That's generally the case.
So everybody will get the ride back to the pits into the care center to be checked over. Vince?
Down here with Dane Hart, chief mechanic for Robbie Unser. Dane, did you get some communication on the radio with Robbie as to maybe what might have occurred out there?
Yeah, well, I guess it wasn't Team Cheever's night, especially for Eddie, for Robbie. Eddie's having a good race. Robbie just got caught up in some traffic. You know, we went 20 laps down because of a fuel problem. I guess it's just not our night.
Did Robbie give any indication as to whether he got caught up in it or maybe someone came into him, how it occurred?
Well, he came on the radio and said there was an accident in front of him and he just couldn't avoid it. And, you know, when you're having a bad night, it's just racing, I guess.
Not Robbie Unser's night tonight. Let's see if the car owner, Eddie Cheever, has a better finish.
Well, folks, we'll let you make up your own minds. Let's show you what happened.
That's Billy Bode in the green car trying to get around the outside of Greco. Oh, and he just doesn't clear him. They touch wheels, and look at it, vault Greco into the air. But that's a tough one. Billy, I think, thought he was clear of him, and he wasn't. They just touched wheels, and that started the chain reaction. A lot of stuff going on behind these two right now.
Now, very hard to tell from that angle, as A.J. Foyt looking on as we are, whether Billy Boat came down or whether Greco came up. Hard to say. Let's have another look when we come back. Welcome back to Atlanta. Mike Joy with Tom Sneva, and Greg Ray has joined us here in the booth. 3 cars eliminated in this backstretch crash coming out of turn number 2. Billy Boat is trying to lap the red car of Marco Greco. Watch the white marks on the asphalt. May help give you some indication as to where the drivers are on the width of the speedway.
Again, Billy on the outside. The car's wiggling a little bit, but he feels, I think, that he gets by. They're exiting the corner. It's a tough one. They don't clear each other, and, you know, I don't know. Billy might not have given him enough room or thought he was a little farther on and by him.
And there's Robbie Unser, who takes the big slide and turns over.
Wow, that thing is almost on its head, but it rights itself.
Robbie Buell sneaks by on the bottom, dodges a few errant wheels.
He might have had his eyes closed there for a couple seconds.
Ralph?
Well, A.J. Foyt is the car owner for Billy Boat. A.J., you've had a chance to look at the replay. What do you think?
Well, you seen him going by the outside. The other guy's 3 or 4 laps down, and I don't know what he's racing that hard for. It's right at the end of the day, and Billy drove hard, consistent to get the lap back when we stalled at the pits. It's just one of the misfortune things. It just makes you sick to see something like that happen.
I saw you smile a little bit when Billy was talking to Gruck. I think you like the spunk in your driver, huh?
Well, I like the spunk of him, but what I smile about, you know, he's just now getting over injuries. He's not hurt, and thank God for that. Nobody was hurt. That's the biggest thing. You know, these racing accidents can happen, but as long as nobody gets hurt, that makes me happy.
Okay, let's talk about the car you still got in the race. Is Kenny Brack in a good position now to go the rest of the way with fuel and tires?
Yeah, we're fine with fuel. We're not handling like we want to, and the biggest thing right now, we're going to do the best we can, but don't count him out yet.
All right, AJ hasn't lost his focus. He's got one more car with a chance to win here in Atlanta.
Pole sitter for the first IndyCar race ever here at Atlanta, at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, that is. A.J. Foyt. Been feast or famine for Billy Boat this year. Pole at Indy, but blew up. Won at Texas. Pole at New Hampshire, but broke his leg. Pole and a crash tonight. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Atlanta, where cleanup continues on the back straightaway from a 4-car incident. Now, the car that was sliding along the wall in the backstretch was not Robbie Unser. That was the number 18 of Steve Knapp. That was up and in the wall and lost a couple of wheels. Unser's car slid down to the bottom of the racetrack, inside of the racetrack, and stopped. So let's show you this one more time. It was Steve Knapp and not Robbie Unser. The yellow car that was up and on the outside retaining wall. Here again is Billy Vogt passing Marco Greco.
See, this is where it starts. These two get together. Billy thinks he's by. They're not quite by. Again, the air off these cars, though, will make them bobble or jump around a little bit, so you just got to give each other room, and it's tough at speed. He launches Greco. Now, they're just hanging on. Now, there's a lot of stuff going on behind this that we don't quite see yet from this angle.
There's Greco to the inside wall. Now, there's Knapp. The Unser is backwards on the racetrack, but it's Knapp that goes down on the right side, flips it back over.
And you can see the parts and pieces just fly off this car.
Well, good thing. That helps dissipate the energy.
Well, that's what it's designed to do.
And Vince can update us from the hospital area. Vince?
Well, Marco Greco, Robbie Unser, and Billy Vogt all walked in under their own power. Steve Knapp was taken in on a stretcher. We've not had any word yet as to their condition. Marco Greco is getting ready to come out here on the golf cart. So let's see if we can get a quick word with Marco as to exactly what happened. Marco, explain to us what occurred out there.
Well, I don't know. I just know that my spots say Billy Vogt is coming outside, so let him go outside. So I keep my inside, and then suddenly somebody touches something, and I don't know how to say that.
Did Vogt come down on you?
I cannot say that. It's difficult for me to say. I only see in the videotape, but, you know, I don't know.
Any indication as to whether Steve Knapp was okay?
Yeah, he seems okay. He's awake, but the rest of it, I don't know. I can't say, but he seems okay.
Glad that you made it out okay as well, Marco. We'll follow up with Steve Knapp and the others as they come out of the hospital area.
Thanks, Vince. So that's good news from the care center area.
Well, it really is. Steve took a real tough shot at Dover and put him out with a concussion for a race or so. So, you know, it's tough sledding out there. These guys run hard and run right on the ragged edge, and it doesn't take much to get over that edge.
So for the cars that remain, there is the race leader, Jeff Ward. Davey Hamilton right behind. Kenny Breck, Eddie Cheever, Tony Stewart, and Scott Goodyear are the lead lap cars. Let's get an update on the race leader from Ralph.
Mike, the thing that might make the difference for Jeff Ward here tonight is tires. Chief Mechanic Mitch Davis on the last stop decided to go with sticker tires and not scuff tires. They feel the sticker tires are just as quick as the scuffs, but they last longer, and they feel that they have made their last stop, and this set of stickers should be able to take them all the way to the finish. Now remember this, Wardy is considered arguably the greatest ever to swing his leg over a motocross bike. Won everything there is to win in motocross racing. It took him 4 years to win his first motocross national. He is only in his 10th Pep Boys Indy Racing League event, and he might end up a winner here tonight.
Eddie Cheever comes to pit road.
Well, there's real concern here. It might be their last stop, but they've had to run through a lot of debris as they're getting the wrecks cleaned up, Mike. And, you know, Cheever's in. He's going to change tires, but I don't know about Ward and some of the other leaders if they think there was enough debris out there that they could have ran through and maybe need to change. But Eddie's first in, first out, so if they decide to come, he's going to go to the front of the pack.
Well, and also this will erase any question of whether there's enough fuel to go the distance. You heard A.J. Foyt say that Kenny Breck had enough fuel, but A.J. has said that before. There was the computer throwing incident at Indy. Billy Vogt ran out of fuel 2 laps from the finish at Colorado. Kenny went to victory lane on fumes. And a few years ago at Nazareth in a kart race, Eddie Cheever was driving for AJ and was leading the race and ran out of fuel with just less than a handful of laps to go. So with Cheever coming in, there are 7 cars in the lead lap. Cheever was 4th. He'll now, of course, be 7th. Will some of the other leaders come pit side before we go back to green? That's the question right now.
Well, talk's pretty cheap from the pits under yellow. You know, that there's a lot of psychology going on, and if I learned one thing, it was that A.J. Foyt was a king of psychology when it came to drivers and owners in racing.
Well, let me ask Greg Ray. You're in this position. Would you rather come in and have enough gas to go the distance, or think you do, hope you do?
Well, I think all the cars came in with about 50 or 60 laps to go, got fuel and tires. And with the 2 yellows, I think for sure they have enough fuel. The big question now, certainly with all the debris on the back straight, is if anybody picked up debris. So I think if anybody comes in, after the track gets clear, it'll probably be just for tires to have that piece of insurance.
Okay, 7 cars on the lead lap. 180 laps next time by. That'll leave us 28 laps left to run. So Jeff Ward leaves Davey Hamilton, Kenny Breck, Tony Stewart, Scott Goodyear, Eddie Cheever, and Mark Dismore. We'll be right back.
Well, I think the night racing is spectacular form. In any sport, it always everything looks brighter. The colors look, more vibrant, and the speeds we're running, the reflection off the cars just really enhance the racing. And I think it's exciting for the spectators to come out at night, and it feels like you're at a show or something. In the heat of the day, it's a little more grueling on the family. So I think it's a trend that I think is going to keep going and build probably at more tracks. And I really enjoy it. I did a lot of my motorcycle racing at night, and it just seems you seem more energetic, and everything seems electrified at night. So it's exciting.
I like to sit in traffic. I always look at it as an opportunity to talk to the person next to you. But other people don't see it that way. Lighten up. Just lighten up. We're all stuck in this world together. Make it happy, I don't mind sitting in traffic as long as I get Chevron with Techron. I feel great no matter where I am.
Make your car feel great. Use Chevron with Techron.
It's a party. It's like a tailgate party.
My cat is my life. Some people say it's because I'm middle-aged and single, but I say it's because my Mr. Boots is quite a decorator. Once, I saw one of his huge fur balls and thought, what a beautiful shade of beige. It'll look great on my deck. Hi. So I took it to True Value. Can you match this? Then she created a perfect match. There you go. Thank you. I let her keep the fur ball. We don't want to keep that color to ourselves.
Paging Bob Morello. Friends and colleagues, oh Bob. Tired of hearing Bob Morello constantly paged over this system? Then you'll love how our new MCI one-number technology locates even the elusive Mr. Morello. Behold, as I dial Bob's 800 number, witness the call bounce from Bob's office to his home and now to his cell phone. Hello? I give you MCI's one-number technology.
Who is this?
That's me, Bill. Here we are at the Super 8.
For reservations, call 1-800-800-8000.
How geologist Ted Barton eats a Reese's Crunchy Cookie Cup.
First, I take a core sample. Next, I examine the strata. And then I digest the findings.
Chocolate, peanut butter, and a cookie. There's no wrong way to eat a Reese's Crunchy Cookie Cup.
Welcome back to TNN's coverage of the Pep Boys Indy Racing League from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Mike Joy with Tom Sneva, and Greg Ray has joined us here high above the Speedway. Tomorrow on TNN, check out all the last-minute news from the NASCAR garage area with the Farm Aid on CMT 300 preview. That's tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 Eastern Time, followed by live coverage of the race at 1 o'clock here on TNN Motorsports. Let's join Vince once again from the hospital area.
Robbie Unser, boy, Robbie, it's been an eventful night. You had the hot seat you had to jump out of, and then the accident. You were right behind it all. Explain what happened.
Well, best I can tell is Boat and Greco got together, and I don't want to comment on who hit who. I don't know if I'm very sure. I know that they got together. I checked up, slowed down, and unfortunately, Steve, I know he didn't have any warning, and he got into me and went over. I think he got some air because I saw the car come over me, but it's sad because both myself and Steve, I don't think needed to be in it, and we were obviously racing, and he was close, and, I don't think it was his fault. There was just not enough room, and things happened too fast.
Been an eventful night for Robbie Unser, but thankfully, he's still going to be able to be on his feet tonight, and we'll see him in Texas. Robbie Unser.
So 27 laps are left to run, 26 as they come by. Jeff Ward seeking his first Pep Boys IRL win.
Robbie brought up a good point. We see a lot in the NASCAR races. Something happens, one guy checks up, and the next guy in line can't see it. And now we've got such good racing in this IRL season, the same thing can happen.
Scott Goodyear's in. Ralph, what are they going to do to improve that car?
Mike, they've got a bit of a vibration on this machine, so crew chief Kevin Blanch, who's changing the right front tires, decided to put stickers on all the way around. Baltimore Ravens quarterback and part owner of the team, Jim Harbaugh, holding the signboard. They complete the pit stop and send their man back out into the race.
That will put him in 6th place. 6 cars now show on the lead lap. 1 lap down, Mark Dismore in 7th and Ari Lyondike 8th. 2 laps back, Andy Michener in 9th. 3 laps down is Robbie Buell 10th. Raul Boisel 5 laps off the pace in 11th. Then Billy Boat, Marco Greco, Knapp, and out of the race through 14th position. Here are the points in the positions they're running right now. Kenny Breck would pick up the Pep Boys IRL point lead over Davey Hamilton, Tony Stewart, Scott Sharp, who was out of the race, and Jeff Ward.
Well, this will be interesting. Jeff can bring this thing home. We're gonna close the gap here a little bit in this point run.
1 to go, and we'll go back to green to hopefully run the final 24 laps. It'll be here at Atlanta tonight. Nice crowd on hand for the Pep Boys Indy Racing League debut at Atlanta Motor Speedway. On pit lane, Robbie Buell. Buell is 3 laps back in 10th place. He is on a lap by himself. Going to get a top off of fuel and fresh tires for this final run.
We see there Ward's been real competitive in a lot of races, just hasn't been able to get it done in the last couple, even though he's been one of the quicker cars, and I think he likes his position where he's at right now.
So Ward is your race leader. Davey Hamilton, Kenny Breck, Tony Stewart, who came from 25th starting spot, dismal qualifying run.
Led the race, though.
Yep, don't count Eddie Cheever out. Yep, Stewart kept his record intact of leading every race this year.
Again, the restart's pretty important. They've let the pace car get away again, and it gives the leader a big advantage. And I don't understand why these guys give each other so much room out there.
Jeff Ward got a really good start here.
Green flag.
Yeah,
green flag.
He just about put a lap on the pace car before it got to pit road. We're back under green.
Well, again, Dismore let him get away a little bit more. But look at this. Davey Hamilton and Kenny Breck. Kenny Breck's not waiting around.
Kenny Breck goes to 2nd place. He's got a ways to go to catch Jeff Ward.
Well, you can see Davey running through some of the oil dry down the back straightaway, so there's still some stuff out there.
These guys knows there's 23 laps to go, so they're going to be standing on it now.
Yeah, they can't wait around a little bit, but Ward definitely got a jump. Dismore, again, was down a little bit, but he just didn't get off very good.
There's a look back at your 2nd place car. And Hamilton there 3rd in the Reebok machine. 4th is Tony Stewart, and Stewart is a ways back. A couple of lap cars separate him from Hamilton.
Well, we're looking at Brack. He's the fastest car on the racetrack right now. Actually, Dismore's just as quick, but being down the lap.
Now Dismore in 7th place, that is, 1 lap down. And at one time he was 3 laps down, so he's made 2 of those laps up on caution flags.
Well, again, Dismore had a bad restart, but he's trying to get the lap back. It looks like he's got something for Ward right now.
All right, Greg Ray, if you're Jeff Ward, do you let him go?
You don't let anybody go. You just have to stand on it. And the reason why he's getting, like I said, it's so much easier to run quick in the draft. So you have to you have to piggyback, but you can't wait for him to go.
Okay. But actually, Dismore being there, that's helping Jeff Ward if he's got a partner there.
Not really. It doesn't help. It doesn't help the lead car.
Okay. Ward's last lap 220.9. Kenny Breck's last lap, the 2nd place car, was a mile an hour quicker.
Well, Hamilton was 222, so they're all running quick. Dismore wants by bad, and Ward doesn't want that to happen.
Robbie Buell may have lost an engine. There's a lot of that smoke out the tailpipe. And he drops to the inside of the racetrack. Looks like we're going to stay green on this one.
The Menard team has had a lot of trouble with motors this weekend. They weren't happy with their qualifying stuff. They have special qualifying motors, and they sort of fell flat on them. And now they got a reliability problem with their race motor.
Buell was in 10th place.
Looks like Davey Hamilton's closing in on Kenny Brack.
That'll be that battle for 2nd once again. The orange car is Hamilton. That pearl white car is Kenny Breck.
Well, then we got Stewart, who's a little bit off, but Eddie Cheever is actually one of the quickest cars in the racetrack, back in that 5th spot.
In fact, Cheever is closing now on Stewart. Get an update on Robbie Buell. Here's Vince.
Talked with John Menard, team owner, about whether or not he broke a motor, and John indicated a water line. Now he's having conversation on the radio with Robbie Buell. And John, what's Robbie saying to you? What's Robbie saying to you?
Well, you know, we're not sure what went wrong exactly. We think a water line of some sort broke because we've been watching it all the time. But he said the car felt great.
Not going to be a finisher tonight, though. Robbie Buell getting out of the car.
It's good to hear from John Menard. He hasn't been to the last few races, so we're glad to see him back at the racetrack.
How about this battle? Eddie Cheever moves up to 4th ahead of Stewart, and here comes Scott Goodyear on the inside. You're riding with him.
Well, Goodyear has closed the gap, so they've all closed up on Stewart.
Yeah, Goodyear was the only car to pit, and he's worked his way through all that lap traffic right there with the leaders.
That was a door slam right there.
Well, I don't think it was open far enough for Scotty to stick the nose in there.
I thought it was. And you lose that momentum, Tom, that you've talked about all night. And up front, there's Brack right there. Going for 3 in a row.
Boy,
there he goes.
I mean, I don't know if the wind off Brack's car just blew Ward to the top of the racetrack.
The last couple laps, Ward's been struggling.
So Kenny Brack puts himself in position to win his 3rd Pep Boys IRL race in a row. Nobody's done that as he moves underneath Raul Boisel. And if he wins tonight, that's 2/3 of the MCI Pep Boys million.
Well, Kenny does a good job. This guy uses his head. He's not the kind of guy that thinks he has to lead every lap. The last few races, he doesn't get to the front till the very end, and that's when he starts pressing the button just a little bit tighter.
So Kenny Brack out front with 13 to go. Here's Cheever trying to hold off Tony Stewart.
Well, we're not sure what's happening to Stewart, but the balance has gone off just a little bit. Goodyear's right behind him.
Ward's times are really falling off now. He's running 2:09.
Yeah, I don't know.
The guys behind him are going to catch him in a hurry now.
I don't know if that's a motor problem or if it's a tire problem based on that debris. A lot of times you get a slow leak and it won't show up for a while. It takes some time for the air to leak out to affect the handling.
Tony Stewart back to 4th place. Repasses Cheever.
Again, you might have a good balanced race car when you're by yourself, but you get it in between cars and you've got a little bit of a loose problem or a little bit of a push problem, and it'll be compounded severely by the turbulence.
Cheever again. And he was stuck right up there under Stewart in what the DOT calls the no zone.
10 to go.
That real turbulent zone.
Kenny Brack is running all by himself, and he's the fastest car on the racetrack right now besides Dismore, and it's pretty good for Brack right now.
Yeah, that's a good sign, but there's still some real question marks about some of these other positions. Stewart hasn't given up on Cheever.
No, he's looking. Remember, Stewart looking to come back into that IRL point chase. 9 laps to go. And if he can get past Eddie Cheever, that's a few more points. Brack leading, Hamilton 2nd, Ward 3rd, Cheever 4th, and closing on Ward. He is 8 miles an hour faster than Jeff Ward the last lap.
Yeah, Jeff, I'm not sure what's happened. The motor's gone sour a little bit or what, but
caught him, passed him. So Eddie Cheever's up for 3rd place. And now Tony Stewart.
Carlo.
We got all the yellow cars together now.
Carlo.
Radio says that Jeff Ward's very, very loose on the in-car radio. 7 laps to go.
7 laps to go. Hang on. 7 laps. You're doing fine.
So Ward now back to 6th place.
I like those crew guys, you know, just hang on. Yeah, like it's real easy to hang on when the thing's trying to bite you real bad.
Well, that's unfortunate for Mark Dismore. He's running in 7th place, but he's turning 222-mile-an-hour laps.
Fastest car on the racetrack, but again, you can't afford to give up a lap anywhere in this kind of contest.
Jeff Ward just trying to hang on now. When a little bit ago it looked as if victory could be in sight for the former motocross champ.
Goodyear, that's Goodyear and Stewart right together. Goodyear's putting more pressure than Stewart wants to feel right now.
You're riding with Scott Goodyear. 5 to go. Kenny Brack looking for that $1 million bonus. If he wins here and if he wins at Las Vegas, he will break the bank, and so will some lucky fan.
I'll buy you a lot of Swedish massages, won't it, Mike?
That'd be a pretty good bet. Could one guy win 3 selected races for $1 million in a circuit as competitive as this one?
Yeah, well, most of us don't gamble, so.
Oh, I know you don't.
Well, I'm sure MCI has a good insurance company back in the $1 million.
I sure hope so.
Kenny Brack's certainly showing that he has the business to get it done.
If they don't, it's a lot of long-distance calls to make that one up. Here is Scott Goodyear around the outside of Tony Stewart. Stewart came from 25th to the lead, and he is now in 5th place. Goodyear moves up to 4th.
Well, actually, we've got Goodyear in 4th, but Davey Hamilton cruising in 2nd is actually closing the gap just a little bit.
Catching Kenny Brack is one thing, passing was another.
That's right. Well, with 4 or 5 laps to go, and he's got a couple seconds, so...
He's a mile an hour faster. Eddie Cheever's last lap was 4 miles an hour off pace. But he still has a bit of gap to work with.
2 to go, Tony, 2 to go.
It's Larry Kerr. He didn't sound that excited about that conversation with his driver.
Well, from where they started the night, it's not going to be a bad finish.
No,
Tony Stewart.
They've got to be happy with that. They're in the championship chase, and they run to the finish.
White flag for Kenny Brack.
Davey's right there. I mean, you know, we're talking a half a dozen car lengths.
Davey Hamilton, after 4 third-place finishes, looking for his career best in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League tonight. There he is in 2nd place. And out of turn 4, driving A.J. Foyt's Power Team car, the first driver to win 3 Pep Boys IRL races in a row. Kenny Brack takes the checkered flag. Battle for 3rd place to the line. Eddie Cheever off pace by 5 miles an hour, but he's going to hold off Scott Goodyear. Cheever will finish 3rd. Goodyear is 4th. Tony Stewart is 5th. Jeff Ward hangs in for 6th. And Mark Dismore, the fastest car on the track in the closing laps, is 7th. Ari Leyendyke, Andy Michner, and Raul Boisel are the top 10. So Kenny Brack is 2/3 of the way to the MCI Pep Boys $1 million. We'll talk to him in Victory Lane after this.
Had to climb out of the car in Victory Lane for the 3rd time in the Pep Boys Indy Racing League Victory Lane. This has been a happy crew down here already. Climbing out of 3 times in a row now. He has done that in the 1998 racing season. Kenny Brack, if I got some good news for you as he gets here.
There's better news.
First off, Kenny, you just won $100,000 out of the MCI Pep Boys sweepstakes. That sets you up for a shot at $1 million coming up in later this year, which we'll see live right here on TNN, and you have just taken over the points lead. Tell me about this day.
I was debating in the last pit stop, or the last yellow, whether to try to go for the lead or not, or stay safe in 3rd and just take the points, but I guess I'm not that kind of driver.
What do you think about winning 3 races in a row? What's the big thing with this team?
Well, you know, I have a good team. A.J. Foyt set the car up real good, and Power Team is a great sponsor. Matt McCartan, as always, is supporting me, and, you know, it's just so good.
You realize you're going for $1 million in another month or 2 down in Las Vegas. How are you going to do for that? Are you going to think a lot about that, or are you just going to go racing now?
I just think about the racing, and the rest of the things takes care of themselves, you know. If you make sure you think about the racing, you might have a chance.
Mike Joy, he has got a lot to think about as he gets set to maybe win a championship and maybe go for $1 million.
Yeah, Ralph, he's got a lot to think about, a lot of zeros. Brack led only 17 laps of tonight's race, and he's led just 28 laps winning Colorado. He led 78 laps winning Charlotte, but he's been up front when it counted.
Well, winning the MCI contest, winning that race at Las Vegas is $1 million, but if he wins that race, he's probably going to win the championship. That's another $1 million, so he'll be very happy.
And so will car owner A.J. Foyt. We're going to talk to the man who finished 2nd tonight and is now the runner-up in the point standings. That's Davey Hamilton. When we come back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. You're watching the Pep Boys Indy Racing League on the Nashville Network.
Pretty fast, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway, where the speeds were just blinding, and the competition pretty electrifying tonight. And one fellow who's had a really strong run tonight, in addition to Kenny Breck and Victory Lane, is with Vince Welch.
Davey Hamilton was getting congratulated as if he won the race, but actually moved up a spot in the standings to second place. Almost feels like a victory tonight, though, doesn't it, Davey?
Yeah, you know, we gave it all we had. This Reebok car was absolutely awesome. I mean, I was able to go wide open the whole day long, and I'll tell you, my Reebok pit crew was unbelievable. They had me out front every time in the pit stop, but we just didn't have quite enough to hold it. When we got the lead, they could draft me a little bit and get by me, and then I could get behind them and gain speed, but not enough to draft by them. And no, congratulations to Kenny, because, you know, we gave it all we had, and this Reebok car was awesome. You know, just one position away.
How about the racing tonight? Very fast.
It was unbelievable. I mean, when you can go that many laps wide open, and it didn't matter if we had new tires or old tires, they can still be wide open, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, it sometimes takes the driver out of it somewhat, and it leaves it to the engineer's hands, but this Nienhaus Motorsports Reebok team guys, they worked hard, and this is a Delara chassis we switched halfway through the year, and, you know, I can't thank them enough.
Davey Hamilton second in the race and second in the points. Now let's go to Ralph Shaheen with a third-place finisher.
Well, that would be Eddie Cheever, who was just talking to Tony Stewart. Sounds like you guys had some pretty good racing out there from the high fives you're giving out.
There was a lot of towing, and we lined up with each other, and we both pointed and said, let's see if we can work, and we worked really well, and we closed the gap and caught up ahead, and Tony's one hell of a driver. We're sad to see him go race NASCAR, but he might be back. Who knows?
Mike, a little help from his buddy Tony Stewart, and Eddie Cheever comes home with a third.
Strong run for Eddie tonight, and a lot of good racing there, battling for that spot. Scott Goodyear finished fourth. Tony Stewart was fifth tonight. Jeff Ward, Mark Dismore, Ari Lyondike, Andy Mitchner, Raul Boisel, the top 10. We'll be right back. Races to go in the Racing League season. Texas, Las Vegas. Here's a look at results. Kenny Breck, Davey Hamilton, Eddie Cheever, Scott Goodyear, Tony Stewart. Fine result for where he started. Jeff Ward, the outside pole sitter. Dismore, Lyondike, Mitchner, and Boisel, the top 10. Robbie Buell was 11th. Billy Boat credited with 12th, and all the rest of these cars were not running at the finish of the event. Stefan Gregoire, a hard crash while running in 6th place. And the balance of the field. And Greg Ray, I know you look forward to getting home to Texas and doing some racing.
I'm looking forward to going home to Texas, and unfortunately I find myself saying the same thing 2 races in a row. If it couldn't be me winning, it couldn't happen to a nicer guy to Kenny Brack.
Well, you love these mile and a halves, though, don't you?
They're a lot of fun. This is a very